What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of All Right, Let's Talk About It. My name is Savannah. I am your host. I do film reviews and film industry commentary. And today we are talking about a little movie that was filmed right here in the New Orleans area. How special. There were a couple of things I recognized, like the mall. I'm pretty sure it's Oakwood Center, which is in Tarrytown, which is basically Gretna, south of the city. And then the little canals. There are plenty of them around here, and they all kind of look the same, but it's uniquely New Orleans metro, just this part of South Louisiana. And then also the roof damage on one of the houses, because that's normal. To still see houses that haven't recovered from a hurricane 2 years ago, or to see property that hasn't recovered from Katrina. Yeah, that's normal. That's not unusual to see. So yeah, this movie was filmed right here in New Orleans, Five Nights at Freddy's. I saw it last night at my regular AMC, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm not going to keep you here super long. I don't think there's a whole lot to say here. So let's just get into it, okay? So Five Nights at Freddy's is directed by Emma Tammy, stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, Piper Rubio, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Matthew Lillard. Funny enough, Matthew Lillard is starting to pop up and go viral on TikTok, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, so quick disclaimer, because this movie is based on a video game series, I've never played it. I'm not big on video games. I have like a select, I'd say 10 that I love to play, including arcade games. But Five Nights at Freddy's just wasn't one of them. So if you're looking for that perspective on how this compares to the game, unfortunately, I cannot give that to you. That's not going to be here. I can't tell you about the Easter eggs, but I can tell you that if you have played the game and you're a big fan of the game, you enjoy it, you love it, you're looking forward to this movie for that purpose, and you're purposefully going into this looking for those Easter eggs, those little nods to the game, you're going to have a much different experience than those of us who have never played the game. You're going to go in there with a little more bias, and you're going to be a little less objective. And there's nothing wrong with that, understandably so. It same goes for anyone who read the book before they saw the movie, or a Marvel fan who has watched every single movie and all the television shows. You're going to go in there with a little more bias. You're going to be a little less objective, and that's fine. So my perspective is going to be no bias at all, because I don't know anything about the game, and a little more objective. So the best I can do is tell you about the quality of the movie. I can't tell you about the entertainment value, because you and I are coming from completely different perspectives, and that's cool. Now, I will say that if you are a fan of the game, this movie was made for you. I think you are going to be thoroughly entertained, because there are elements in this movie that are definitely for you. We're starting to see this kind of come up, right? You know, video game adaptations. We had Mario earlier this year, Super Mario Brothers. We had Gran Turismo in the summer, and now we have Five Nights at Freddy's. I think what those movies did differently, though, is they were able to kind of speak to an audience that may or may not have played those games. Now, I don't know who on God's green earth has never played Super Mario Brothers. Like, there's no excuse. You can play it on a regular old school Nintendo. You can play it PlayStation, Xbox. You can play it on a Switch. You can play it on your phone. There's no excuse. It's like, what are you doing with your life? And then, Gran Turismo. But I think what those movies did is they were able to kind of connect the audience to the game through the movie. Does that make sense? So if you've never played the game, you still got an experience where you got to kind of experience elements of the game within the movie. So you could still follow along and be engaged in the same way, maybe not quite the same, but in the same way as someone who is an avid player of the game, like Gran Turismo, for instance. The way they would have the markers, like you would have in a normal game, where they would show people shifting from first to second to third, fourth place and whatnot. Scoreboard stuff, and even in Super Mario Brothers, where he's going through a course and it looks like the course in the game, or Super Mario Kart, stuff like that, where those of us who have played the games, we're very familiar with it. And those who have never played the games can kind of engage with the game that way through the movie. Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't do that. So they don't really engage the audience with respect to the game. Do you know what I mean? So this really was made for people who love the game. Those of us who have never played it, we're not really given a thought. So that's what I can tell you. If you have played the game, you're a fan, I think you are going to be entertained at the very least. The rest of us, this movie is basically fun trash. Now, I didn't do a full review on Haunted Mansion, but in my TikTok review, I said, fun trash. I think it was Haunted Mansion that I said fun trash. And then there was another movie that also said fun trash. Till Death Do Us Part. Fun trash. It's fun. It's cool. You'd probably watch it again. It's one of those cool movies that you can just play in the background while you're doing housework, but it's trash. It's not very good. This movie is not good. Again, if you've played the game and that's what you're going for, you're going to be entertained because, again, this movie was made for you. But for the rest of us, this movie was dumb. It was just really stupid. Didn't make much sense. The plot was very thin. I can't tell you how this works as a video game adaptation. I'm just going to keep saying this, and so y'all hear me. I can only tell you about the quality of the movie, just from a cinematic perspective. The plot was very thin. The acting was kind of wooden, which is weird because Josh Hutcherson is a good actor. Matthew Lillard is a good actor. In spite of the director's just misdirection with respect to acting, I think Matthew Lillard shines the best out of everyone in this movie, which sucks though. Because his acting is so good and because he portrays his character from beginning to end to a T, you really know the end from the beginning. Like, you know how the movie's going to end just by the performance that he gives. Everyone else is very sullen, very wooden, very just... Bleh. And we have Mary Stuart Masterson in here, and she's a great actress, but she was very caricature-y. The director said, here's your personality, now work within those bounds. There was no really nuance, there was no layers. We don't really have a whole lot of character development here. So what is this movie about? This movie is about a dude named Mike. Mike can't keep a job to save his life, but he has to have a job because he has custody of his younger sister. Their mother, we find out in the movie, passed away, and dad is just not capable of taking care of her. So he has custody, and he's in the middle of a custody battle with his aunt, played by Mary Stuart Masterson. Well, he has a job at the beginning at the mall as a security guard, which I'm pretty sure is Oakwood Center Mall in Tarrytown, aka Gretna, aka the West Bank. And he ends up pummeling a guy, like punching him in the face, because he thinks this guy is kidnapping a little boy. Turns out the little boy is his son. So he loses his job. He ends up at a career counseling center trying to find work. And his career counselor is Matthew Lillard. And the way he kind of comes off is very creepy and just slimy. There's something about him that's a little off. And I think that's where you kind of get a good idea as to where this movie is going to go from there. None of the ending should not be a surprise to you. So he offers him a job and he's like, no, I can't do this. I work nights. I don't work nights. And eventually he comes around and says, okay, I'll take the job. And it's a night security job at Freddy Fazbear's, a popular 80s, pizzeria for kids, much like Chuck E. Cheese, with a mix of Teddy Ruxpin, the bear. I had one of those. That thing was terrifying now that I look back on it, but I loved that freaking bear. Do you hear me? My mom was very disturbed by my love for that bear. But yeah, very much like Chuck E. Cheese, but a little more creepy and kind of nightmarish. Kind of reminds me of the Easter Bunny at Walmart. There's nothing cute about the Easter Bunny. I'm just saying. So he's working a night shift at this closed down, beat up Freddy Fazbear's restaurant because, Steve, played by Matthew Lillard, says the owner is very sentimental. He just doesn't want to give it up. And again, so many little clues in his performance as to who he actually is. So we go to Freddy Fazbear's with him and kind of an interesting, boring night. We're learning a little bit more about Josh as, he has this younger sister he has to take care of, but it turns out when he was younger, he witnessed the abduction of his younger brother, Garrett. And he is trying to find clues to his abduction in his memories. So he goes to sleep every night. He kind of forces himself to go through the same dream every single night, listening to the sounds of nature, falling asleep, staring at a poster of Nebraska, to kind of trigger his memories of those last moments, them camping out in a Nebraska forest. So he can kind of relive that moment and see if he can find new clues, trigger his memory somehow to remember who was it that took his little brother. And we have these, little dream sequences here and there, and these little kids out of nowhere popping up in his dream. Well, we later find out that Freddy Fazbear's, after it shut down, There were rumors about Freddy Fazbear's, about kids that went missing. And, this place was, searched from top to bottom. The kids were never found. We learned about all of this from a police officer named Vanessa. And, Freddy Fazbear's is on her regular beat. So she makes it a point to get to know who the security guard is. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, eventually he brings his little sister to work because his babysitter turned out to be a backstabbing hoe. We don't like her. She was working for the aunt trying to find dirt on him, and there was no dirt. So like, hey, why don't we just mess up Freddy Fazbear's and get him in trouble so he'll lose his job? So they go to Freddy Fazbear's and mess up the place, and then they all end up getting killed, including her. And that's probably the best scene in the whole movie is, them not being alive no more. After that, it's just kind of dull and boring. This movie's not scary. It's PG-13, so there's no gore. It makes no sense. I don't understand how you have these killer animatronics. Very much, Chucky on steroids, and there's no gore in this movie. There's a little bit of blood here and there, like he gets cut or stuff like that, but there is no blood and guts gore. We kind of see shadows, silhouettes of things happening, or things are positioned in such a way that we don't really see what's going on. But that part of the movie is probably the best part, is when these guys breaking in all get murdered by these animatronic, stuffed animals. So yeah, the movie is just very dull, kind of boring, no plot. It doesn't really make much sense. There are things that are kind of added into the plot that never get resolved, like a delinquency notice on his door. It looks like it might be, for rent or mortgage or something, and we never get a resolution for that. He depends on Freddy Fazbear's for a job, and then obviously after everything ends and he's no longer at Freddy Fazbear's, like what happens next? He obviously keeps his niece. Does he find another job? Is the house saved? They get to be together forever? Like, there are a lot of things that are introduced into the plot that never get a resolution. These are the things that are introduced in the plot are designed to make us connect and empathize with him, and yet it's just kind of thrown in there. There's no real resolution. And I think a lot of that has to do with this movie going through so many production companies, so many writers, so many directors before they settled on Emma Tammy, who I don't know. I felt like she kind of chickened out with this. This could have gone in two completely different directions. This could have been, a nice little slasher gore fest. It could have been a horror comedy. I think there was potential for this to be a horror comedy, and didn't happen. I think the fact that we only see Matthew Lillard twice in this movie, and it's really a good maybe 10 minutes, it was a mistake. Because again, he is the best part of the movie, and I think adding him in there and making him kind of a central point would have added to the tension and the suspense. But yeah, this movie's just not scary. It's just dull. But again, if you are a fan of the game, I think you will be entertained, because there are certain things within this movie that you're going to notice that we won't. Those things that matter to you, for us, they're just kind of meaningless and stupid. You know what I mean? It's just kind of it's a dull, fun trash of a movie. I mean, but it's entertaining enough, I guess. It's just, I was very disappointed. I expected a little bit more. This thing could have been, I expected this to be fun. I expected this to be a fun ride of a horror movie. Some horror movies are just straight up scary and terrifying, and some are just so much fun. Like it's a roller coaster ride, and it wasn't. And I was sad. I was very, very sad. All right, parental units, this is the part of the podcast where I answer your most burning question. Is this movie appropriate for my child? Okay. Before I even get into answering this question, my normal disclaimer, your child, your family, your standards, your values, what's best for your family. So whatever it is that I say, filter it through that, okay? Number 2, though, this movie is also on Peacock. So not only is this in theaters, but it's also streaming on Peacock. And basic Peacock, I don't think it's all that expensive if you don't have it. But honestly, I feel like if there's a streaming service to have, Peacock is the one that most people would have, because I feel like universally we all love Law & Order. And Law & Order SVU, Criminal Intent, the new one with organized crime is all on there. I'm tangent. Anyways, so yeah, the movie is streaming on Peacock. So parents, mothers in particular, because I know a lot of moms like to do this, you are able to watch the movie first. Before you allow your child to watch it, you are able to watch the movie first and make a decision. So I highly recommend doing that. If you ever have an opportunity, and me as a person who reviews movies, if that should ever arise, I will let you know. Hey, you can watch this first. It's streaming, so on and so forth. But good little hint to parents, I highly recommend watching the movie first before you let your family watch it. I think that's just good practice, personally, no matter what the movie is. But my personal opinion, I think if your child is like 9 years or older, maybe 8, they'll be fine. The movie's not scary. It's not gory. There's a little bit of blood, but it's like he gets a cut on his arm kind of deal, or, he gets scratches on his back. But it's not gory. It's not really scary, not even jump scary. The movie's kind of dull. I think for adults, you're going to find it a little dull. Your child might find it a little more entertaining. It might be a little more fun for them. These are like giant animatronics. So if your child has ever been to Chuck E. Cheese, that it might give them a little bit of a complex. I don't know. But yeah, I think a kid will honestly be fine. This is rated PG-13, so do keep that in mind. But because it's rated PG-13, one of the reasons why it's rated PG-13 is because it's so light on the horror and it's so light on the gore. So I think this movie was purposely like dialed back so that a larger audience could enjoy it. With rated R, it makes things a little bit difficult. Parents are a little more hesitant. And also with rated R, certain theaters have rules with respect to young kids going to see rated R movies, sometimes after a certain time period, or even with an adult. Sometimes some theaters don't even allow kids in rated R movies at all. So with it having a PG-13 rating, it's guaranteed that anyone and everyone who wants to see the movie can see it. But I honestly think your kid will be fine, truthfully. But I highly recommend for parents, go to Peacock, subscribe, get a free trial, do what you need to do, and watch the movie first and then make a decision. Want to advertise on this podcast? Check the episode description to see how you can be featured on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to me rant and rave about yet another movie. So that was Five Nights at Freddy's, directed by Emma Tammy. Just to sum it all up, I think if you are a fan of the game, you're going to find this entertaining, but for the rest of us, it's fun trash. Basically it. So what's coming up? Okay, so it's going to be a busy weekend for me. So I am seeing, today's Friday, right? So tonight I'm actually seeing Anatomy of a Fall. My first, I would say, not counting, Oppenheimer or Killers of the Flower Moon, but this is like my first real like Oscar bait movie of the season. So looking forward to that. I'm also going to be seeing The Holdovers on Sunday right after church, and I can't wait. I'm so excited about that. And then next week, I already got my ticket. I am seeing Priscilla. So I've got 3 Oscar baity movies within, 7 days. That's kind of fun. I can't wait. So yeah, I'm seeing Priscilla next Thursday. And then the Monday after, AMC is doing something called Screen Unseen. I think Regal has done this before, where they'll have like Mystery Movie Mondays or something like that. I don't have a Regal near me. I haven't been to a Regal theater, since college, maybe? Yeah, since I lived in Greensboro, North Carolina. I think that's the last time I really went to a Regal theater. I've been an AMC girl since like 2012, like loyal AMC. Actually, more before that. I was really upset when I went to college and there wasn't an AMC theater. So yeah, I guess this is something that AMC is going to be doing for a while, or now they're going to have opportunities for you to see a mystery movie. So I can't wait to share what that is. That is November 6th. So I'll actually be missing Bible study for that. I saw that come up on my notifications and immediately bought a ticket. It's like $5. Like, why not? So what else is coming up? So that week is Screen Unseen, November 6th. And then that Thursday, I already got my ticket for The Marvels. That movie is struggling right now in terms of pre-sales and just overall buzz. The actors strike isn't helping, obviously, because the ladies can't promote it. I don't think that would make too much of a difference, honestly. I think with Marvel, these movies kind of promote themselves. I think the fan base does a lot of the word of mouth and promotion. I don't think the ladies promoting the movies would make that much of a difference, especially when, so much of the audience doesn't like Brie Larson. But that's neither here nor there. That's a whole separate conversation. And then I already had my ticket on Thanksgiving week for Wish. Can't wait. I'm waiting for Napoleon tickets to go on sale. I'm planning on making that a double feature day, and that'll be on a Tuesday, so the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Still waiting on tickets to go on sale for the Hunger Games movie. There's also another movie coming out in the month of November called Journey to Bethlehem. It's like a Christian musical. I don't understand why they're releasing this in November and not closer to Christmas, but whatever. So that I'm planning on seeing that as well. I'm pretty sure tickets are on sale. I just gotta figure it out. And now that my slots for AMC A-List are starting to diminish, y'all, I've had like up to 7 movies in my queue, like tickets bought or seats reserved all month long. I haven't spent this much money on AMC theater tickets in a long time. But hey, it's worth it. I love this. Absolutely love this. And it keeps me busy. It's something to do. It's for real, this is the only thing I like to do that costs me any money. So now that Five Nights at Freddy's is out of the way, I have a slot open for AMC A-List reservations, and then another one's going to open up after I see Anatomy of a Fall. So expect a little TikTok review if you follow me on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram for Anatomy of a Fall and for The Holdovers. You will get full reviews for those. I'll probably end up recording those Monday, and I might space them out, or you'll probably end up just getting them Wednesday maybe. We'll see. So yeah, lots coming up, a lot to do, and a lot planned for the month of November because it's almost over, y'all. Spooky season's almost done. Goodness. So if you see Five Nights at Freddy's, let me know what you think. If you are a fan of the game and you see the movie, let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear from you. But anywho, have an amazing weekend. I love you. And I will see you next time.